one call. Just a horrible, horrible situation for them.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Hello and welcome to an all-new semester of TakeaSide, presented by Sided Debates. We are really excited to be back and have some fresh ideas that we look forward to showing. Before we get started with our show today, be sure to get on to sided.co or the Sided Debates app to post topics, vote, comment, and engage with other users on the site to climb up that leaderboard for a chance at winning $25 Amazon gift card. The more interaction your debate can get, the more points you earn, inching you closer to that top prize. For our first topic today, our debaters Jack McGarr and Isabel Scarborough are discussing which of these Super Bowl-bound quarterbacks has more to prove, Joe Burrow or Matthew Stafford. Joe Burrow is the second-year quarterback who has taken the Bengals team from first to worst in the AFC in only 2 years as their starter. He is coming back from a scary ACL injury that cut his rookie campaign short, but came back firing with the help of his reunited college teammate Jamar Chase. While the Bengals did overperform this year, Burrow still has to prove that this Bengals team is different than any before them. On the other side of the NFL, Matthew Stafford has the Rams back in the Super Bowl in his first year on the team, as the Rams traded 3 first-round picks to the Lions in exchange for the veteran quarterback. Stafford, who has been declared underrated for years, now has his chance to get to the Super Bowl and add to his potential Hall of Fame resume. Isabel, which quarterback has more to prove?
So out of the two quarterbacks, Matthew Stafford 100% has more things to prove. With it being his first year not in the NFL, the first year with this team. First, the Rams put so much on Stafford. Whole bunch of picks, whole bunch of money. They put everything into getting this one man as their quarterback. He now has to prove to the organization, to the fans, to the entire NFL that it was a good reason that the Rams decided to get him.
Joe Burrow has more to prove in the Super Bowl. He really does. The Bengals went 2 wins in 2019 to get Burrow. They knew they were going to get Burrow from that season. They tanked to get him, and now he's their franchise quarterback. They got to the Super Bowl this year. They overperformed. Many people did not have them even in the playoffs this season. Most people had them worse in their division. Now they're here. Now they're in the Super Bowl. Joe Burrow has to prove that he can win in the playoffs and take this team to a Super Bowl and win it.
So you have Matthew Stafford. He played as the Rams he played at the Lions for over 10 years, which in that entire time they didn't have that much luck. They had losing seasons after losing seasons after losing seasons. So even now that he's at the Rams and he's done amazing, I mean, he's got them to the Super Bowl.
For sure.
People still all have this doubt of why couldn't he do that with the Lions? Why did he go to the Rams? Now he did this big thing. So he has to prove that he's a good quarterback and that it's not just who he's playing with. It's not that Odell and all these different wide receivers and corners, but it's him who can make a difference and make the team win.
I mean, Stafford's already proven he's a great quarterback. The only thing he hadn't proved before that on the Lions is that he could win the playoffs. But that Lions team was awful. He now has a team, and he's showing that he can win when he just has a decent lineup around him. Joe Burrow has to prove that he's worth the number 1 pick. They spent that number 1 pick on him, and he has to prove that he can win a Super Bowl and be the franchise quarterback for this team, not just this year, but for years on. They have to prove that this wasn't a fluke year. I think a lot of teams and a lot of people are going to think that the Bengals got here this year, they got to the Super Bowl, and they're not going to go any further after this year. They have to prove that Burrow and the Bengals can stay in the AFC and go to multiple playoffs and Super Bowls for years to come.
Now, of course, the Super Bowl is it's in LA. It's in the Rams Stadium, which hasn't happened before. And this is such a crazy thing that the Rams, they're not only in the Super Bowl, but they're actually playing in their own stadium. So the Rams fans, they don't have to travel. They don't have to travel to get to the game. So he has to prove that he can play at his home in the Super Bowl, which already has so much pressure. But now you're at your own house, so he has to prove that he can still do it no matter what.
I think with Burrow, too, the thing he has to prove more than anything is that he is the reason that they're here. With the Rams, it's Stafford, they've got Odell, they've got Kupp, they've got Donald. I mean, you name it. They've got a list of players that are helping them potentially win this Super Bowl and to get them to here. But with the Bengals, it's really Burrow, Chase, and that's about it, and Mixon maybe. They don't really have a lot of players, and with Burrow, if he can win this championship, he proves that quarterback is really necessary to win a Super Bowl in this league. And he has to prove that other teams need a quarterback, and they need to draft one or trade for one to win a Super Bowl.
And, right now the Rams are favored to win with a 66% chance. So the critics are going to be going crazy on Stafford because there's a reason that they have this good of a chance to win with the entire team that they've built up. But the quarterback is the key to a team. You need a quarterback, and Stafford needs to prove that he is key to this team, because usually when you get veteran quarterbacks, sometimes it doesn't work. It's not the best. But then you have him who took this team that was close to nothing. They weren't doing its best. They added him, and now they're at the Super Bowl. So he just needs to continue, and so he can get better seasons and continue to be their quarterback.
With Stafford, though, he can't prove that the quarterback is necessary on that team because he's got so many pieces around him. Again, you list Kupp, you list Odell Beckham, you list Donald, Von Miller, Jalen Ramsey. I can go on and on about the players they have. The Bengals have Burrow, Chase, Mixon. That's really it. And they have a terrible offensive line. Joe Burrow is almost single-handedly taking this team to the playoffs and to the Super Bowl right now. If he can win, he proves that the quarterback is a necessity to a Super Bowl team. He's got more to prove right now.
I mean, you bring up good points, but overall, I think Stafford just has more to prove. When you look at the team, of course, he has a stacked-up team. It's inevitable that all the different names that he has is a stacked-up team, but if you don't have someone good throwing to everybody and all of this, you can't win the game. And it's Super Bowl, and it's one of the first ones that he's been in, because the Lions, they have never been in the Super Bowl. But, of course, what are your last few thoughts about this?
I just think, number one, Burrow has more to prove. That's my opinion here. And, if Burrow can win this, I think they prove that they're going to be here in the AFC playoffs at least for years to come, and that this wasn't a fluke year. And I think that's why Burrow has more to prove. But with that, with those final thoughts, we're going to send it to break, and we'll be right back.
Welcome back to another semester. Welcome back to another semester of Hot Takes. We're going to start today off the right way. We're going to talk about our main man, Skip Bayless. Skip Bayless is well known as one of the, given some of the coldest takes in the world, some of the hottest takes in the world. Skip Bayless is just an animal. He's a menace. He's wild. So let's go through, pull up the receipts on Skip Bayless and see how he's doing here. Okay, first tweet from Skip. I'm sorry, I just don't see Trae Young becoming a big NBA star. Let's talk about this one first. Skip, come on, man. Let's go. Figure it out. Trae Young is averaging 27.7 points per game this year, which is 5th in the NBA. He's averaging 9.3 assists per game, which is 3rd in the NBA. You say here that he has turnover problems. He's averaging 9 assists. Obviously, he doesn't have that big of a turnover problem. And over the course of his career, he's averaging 24 and 8. He led the Hawks to an Eastern Conference Finals last season, Skip. Come on now. Trae Young is a star, and you were wrong on this one. Let's go to another one. Matt Moore beats Kirk Cousins as I predicted on Undisputed. I'm certainly not saying Moore is better than Mahomes, but the Chiefs are playing with more spirit and fight than they did for Mahomes. Who is Matt Moore? He's been in the NFL since 2007. He's only thrown 49 touchdowns, and he's got 36 picks and a 16-16 career record. You think this guy's better than Patrick Mahomes? Come on now. Patrick Mahomes has had that many passing touchdowns in the last 2 seasons. He's only been in the league 4 years. Next. If the Packers slip up and lose to Kirk Cousins and the Vikings this Sunday and the Cowboys win out, the Cowboys would be the 1 seed. The part that bothers me here is Cowboys to the Super Bowl ? Skip, I know you're a Cowboys fan. Dude, Cowboys are not going to win another Super Bowl if they continue to play the way they have, even though they have Dak, Zeke, and Micah Parsons, and they haven't won a single playoff game since 2018, and they haven't won the Super Bowl since 1996. They lost to a Niners team that shouldn't have even made the playoffs. Yeah, they made the run, but the Niners should not have even been in the playoffs, and the Cowboys lost at home. The Cowboys were never a Super Bowl winning team this year. No matter what you said, the NFC was loaded with the Rams and the Packers and the Niners who ended up beating them, and there was no team in the AFC that I think that they could beat. Now let's go to our last one, and the biggest hot take of them all from Skip Bayless. Joe Burrow is greater than Patrick Mahomes. He then backs it up by saying that he kept telling Shannon Sharp last week that Joe Burrow was the closest thing left to Tom Brady. We're talking about 2 of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Tom Brady, who is the GOAT, and Patrick Mahomes, who is well on his way to being that guy. Patrick Mahomes has played more AFC title games than Joe Burrow has total playoff games in his career. I don't care if Joe Burrow beat him twice this year. Their careers are not even comparable right now. Patrick Mahomes has a Super Bowl win. He's played in 2. And then what's up with this Brady comparison? Brady has 7 rings. Joe Burrow has not even played in 7 playoff games. This can't be a debate right now, Skip. You're way too far ahead of the gun here. Maybe Joe Burrow might be the drippiest quarterback in the NFL, but he's definitely not the best. Now, that's all I have. Skip Bayless, you got to figure it out, my man. Max, what are your thoughts on Mr. Skip over there?
I think just you talking about him, Blake, shows that he's doing his job pretty well. If he catches traction, no matter what the debate is, I think he's doing fine for himself. But we're going to take a quick break, and we will be back with Jackson and Jordan for our third and final debate.
You may not hear it at first, but it's there. Our chant, rising. On this summit, callings converge, voices unify into a chorus that sounds out for good, for greatness. Can you hear it?
Welcome back. For our third and final debate, Jackson Reed and Jordan Ziegler joined to debate whether or not you can still win a Super Bowl as a defensive-minded coach. With the rise of young quarterback talent, as well as some brilliant offensive-minded head coaches, is this the new way to win Super Bowls in the NFL? In this week's conference championship games, all 4 remaining coaches were offensive-minded. And in the prior 2 seasons to this one, the offensive coaches outnumbered the defensive coaches 3-1. Over 75% of the sided voters believe that having an offensive-minded head coach is the best way to win the Super Bowl. Jackson, do you agree with this notion or not?
Well, Max, you're doing your argument for me. I mean, absolutely. In this league, the league is adapted to a certain point where you need an offensive-minded head coach. I mean, just take example of, what Max said. All the coaches that are remaining in the conference championship weekend, they're all offensive-minded. But I know that, you wanted to take a different side on this, and you have some differing opinions. So I'm willing to hear you out, though.
Yeah, Max, you didn't help me out much with your intro. I'm not going to lie to you. My argument is more defense itself wins championships, and so therefore a defensive head coach can still win a championship. Yes, I agree the NFL is tending towards bigger and better offenses, which I think means if you have a defensive head coach, that's more of a rarity, and you could arguably be more successful because you're going to be better at stopping those offensive head coaches. I mean, 47 of the 55 Super Bowl champions have all been ranked in the top 10 defensively. 16 of those were the best defenses in the league, and 18 of those were top 5 in defense. So defense has statistically always won championships, and even since 2013, every single Super Bowl champion has been in the top 10 defensively. So defense is still winning championships. I think that's my main argument.
Well, I think, the argument is defense wins championships, the old argument, and that's just my point. It's old. We're talking about now. We're talking about how things are trending now. You've got the Bengals in the Super Bowl who have that high-flying offense where you can see Joe Burrow throw for over 450 yards at any given Sunday. You have Jamar Chase who's catching over 250 some Sundays. And then on the other side of the ball, you have the Rams with Matthew Stafford and Odell and all the flashy stars out in L.A. on that offense. And I understand their defense is great too. Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, Von Miller. They've got stars on both sides of the ball, which is why they're in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But you got to take a look at the past, 5, 6 Super Bowl winners. 2021, Bruce Arians, offensive-minded head coach. 2020, Andy Reid, offensive-minded head coach. 2018, Doug Peterson, offensive-minded head coach. Same thing with Gary Kubiak in 2016 with Denver. But when you look at 2019 and 2017, Bill Belichick is your only exception. But that's Bill Belichick, though. I mean, that's the greatest head coach of all time. Arguably, there's no argument there. Bill Belichick is the best head coach of all time, and I understand he's a defensive-minded head coach, but there's a reason they were an exit this year. There's a reason why the Patriots aren't in the Super Bowl this year. The league is trending toward that spot where you have to have an offensive-minded head coach, and you have to spend high-quality draft picks and trade assets to get your offensive guys.
Okay, for starters, the Patriots are coming off a rebuild. They weren't even competitive last year and were able to get all the way back to the playoffs this year. That's still pretty impressive. And as a Rams fan, you should know this all too well. Bill Belichick went up against one of the best offenses in the league as a defensive-minded head coach twice in his career against the Rams. And he won both of those games against the Rams because he was able to stymie their offense with his defensive mind. But also not to mention, when you talk about winning percentages, in the last 6 years, defensive head coaches have had a better overall record than offensive head coaches for 4 of them. Their winning percentage is .508 compared to offensive head coaches' winning percentage of .498. So you have that, but also looking at just like championship teams, the top 10 defenses of all time, 7 of those 10 defenses won a championship. And when you look at the top 10 offenses of all time, only 1 offense in the top 10 offenses of all time won a championship. The other 9 did not win a Super Bowl, and that was the 1999 Rams. So defense is statistically winning more championships than offense is. And even in the last 6 years, you still see that defensive-minded head coaches have a better overall record than offensive-minded head coaches.
Okay, my final little argument here. Let's just say the best defenses in the NFL this year, ladies and gentlemen. The Bills were number 1, second-round exit. The Cardinals were number 2, first-round exit. Carolina was the third-ranked defense in the NFL, if you can believe it or not. They went 5-12. Dallas, first-round exit. Tampa, second-round exit. New Orleans, they didn't even make the playoffs either. So I understand, the old adage, defense wins championships, the statistics, the old head coaches. I get all that. I really do. But what I'm saying is right now in the NFL, you're going to need an offensive head coach. You're going to need a better offense and a better defense. Because I'm telling you, just these defenses that I just listed, none of them are in the Super Bowl. None of them made it to the conference championship round. And you know what? I'm totally okay with seeing the 50 to 48 games. I'm totally okay with seeing all these high-scoring games. And you know what? I think that's where the offensive game is trending to a point where you need that offensive head coach. So, you know what? We're gonna throw it to the head man instead. Let's throw it to the head man instead, Max McElroy, for the close.
Thank you so much for tuning in for today's show. As I said before, we're really excited to get this semester started, and it was great to be back here. But before we go, as I said, be sure to create your own Sided account to be able to post debates of your own, as well as to comment and vote on other debates. Along with that, follow us on Instagram and Twitter at TakeaSideKU for weekly live streams and clips from the show. And our Twitter, we will be having some different Sided content for you weekly. But that's all the time we have for today. For all of us here at TakeaSide, we'll see you next week.